Okay, Nashville story part 2. Now, I'm not trying to be a teaser. I tried to make this video already once, and I think this might end up having to be a 2-part story, so I'm going to try to condense it. So, I had the episode with the border. Now, what I didn't tell you in the previous video is that they had me on the second try to pass through the border. The border officers were a lot more friendly, and they really did try to help me get through, because they did recognize that obviously I wasn't doing anything wrong. I had no criminal record or anything like that. So they tried, but like they had me detained for about 5 hours. They scrutinized every electronic I had, and by the end of it, I felt really traumatized. They were coming out and like, kind of like a little bit interrogating, and I understand that that's their job. It's still, I think the feeling is like when you're someone like me who works really hard to keep your nose, clean and whatever, to all of a sudden feel like you're a criminal, or all of a sudden feel like you're doing something wrong when you didn't feel like you were doing anything wrong, and then you're being treated in this way. It's a lot. So I was really, it was traumatic for me. I was crying, and really in a mess by the time I was done with the border. And the guy walking me out to my car said, "Look, just don't cry. It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna talk to you." And he did. He said, like, "Look, this is not a ding. You're okay to come through America again. You just have to show better ties to motherland, blah, blah, blah." It was fine. He was really, really sweet. Shout out to that officer, because he really did make a big difference for me. It kind of made me feel okay. So anyway, fast forward. I got a really great job here in Windsor, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to buy the plane ticket. So I bought the plane ticket, and then I bought the ticket to fly out of Toronto, because I couldn't fathom crossing the border by car into the States and then flying, because I just honestly have just been traumatized. Now, I have crossed the border 3 times to Detroit just to hang out, and it's been fine. But I hadn't tried to go to Nashville, so I was a little bit stressed out. But in my head, I was like, once I get there, I have all my paperwork. I had every lease agreement since I've been to Windsor. I had my bank statements. I had my car rental agreement. I had my itineraries for everything that they could possibly want. Okay, I was prepared. I did not want any problems. So, but in my head, I was thinking, like, when I get to Nashville, they're not going to turn me back, right? But then I get to Toronto, and I realize I'm going to go through customs before I leave Toronto, so it's very easy for them to just be like, nope. So then I got really stressed out. So I get to customs. They pull me into secondary, and there was nobody around, but they were like just, being really awful, just really rude. I don't know why this job requires you to not be a human anymore, or to not treat people with respect or dignity, but I've had some really awful experiences, unfortunately. Now, it's not everybody, and it's not the whole thing, but it's there. We know. So anyway, they're like holding me. They're being rude. I have all my paperwork, but it's not sufficient. I've left out one thing, and that one thing apparently is very crucial, and I don't know. And so they're trying to pull my luggage from the aircraft. And I'm being very patient. I'm not saying anything, but then time's like ticking on. So I go and I talk to them. I press them. I say, is my bag coming? Because you still have to get it, search it, then decide if you're going to let me go. At this point, my flight is boarding. So what are we doing? So then they start jumping into action. They're like, okay, well, we got to find this bag. So in the end, no one searched my luggage in order to expedite the process and usher me out the door so that I could catch my flight. They took my purse and shined a flashlight into my purse and sent me out the door to get my flight. I'm running for dear life. I get to the gate, and there's no one there. No staff, no nothing. I'm running around frantic. The gates around me are now starting to look at me. I'm like asking if, and then I start seeing staff start walking back up the catwalk. And I'm like, hey, I'm trying to flag them. I'm here. I see my plane still there. We're still attached, so I should be able to just get on. No. I'm like, you're telling me that I'm looking at the plane? You've been, like, customs has been, trying to get a hold of you. This is not my fault. You can't tell me that I can't get on this flight. I, collapsed in the gate. It was straight out of a movie. One of the staff, God bless her, came to my aid, and she helped me. We went and collected my luggage from special luggage. And while this girl was on the phone with my airlines, I was online buying a ticket with WestJet because I knew that they had a flight leaving in the next 2 hours. And I couldn't afford to forfeit the rental car and all the arrangements I had made on the other side. And my airline didn't have a flight leaving for 3 days. And I don't have the luxury of waiting because I'm in Toronto and I live 3 hours away from Toronto. And I was dropped off there. So I buy a ticket. It wasn't that expensive, but then she collects my luggage. And I realize I booked it for the wrong month. Okay, so now my hysteria has changed to another hysteria. I tell her, she's like, let's just go. Go up to check-in, see if we can get it changed, see if we can do this, okay? So I'm like, all right. So I run up to a WestJet check-in counter, and I say, this is what I've done. I need to get on that flight. He's like, I don't think we're going to be able to do it. We have, just over an hour or whatever. I'm like, buddy, we're going to try. Okay, don't admit defeat before we get started here. So let's just try to fly into action. I don't have a lot of options here. Anyway, we got that fixed. And then I had to go through security and go through customs again. So I roll up into customs a second time, and they're like, why are you here again? I'm like, well, let me tell ya. I'm just trying to not be combative. I'm trying to fight all of my adrenaline, all of my stress. I am like, how can this be possibly happening to little old me? Like, why is this so difficult? I'm just trying to make this happen. I'm barely making it happen as it is. So whatever, I say to them, I'm like, you've already approved me to be in the country until the 17th. It's fine. Just let me go through, do whatever you have to do. But my flight is boarding again, so we don't have time to dilly-dally here. Anyways, so I get to my gate. They're already boarding. I just walk into the line. I'm trembling. I'm like, I can't even deal. I'm just trying not to fall apart. Just get me on this plane. Once I get seated in my seat, I can just, So I'm standing there at the front of the plane waiting for people to put their luggage up in the carry-on, and I see these two people lean over in front of me, and they pick up my hat and hand it to me. I didn't even know I had dropped it. I was just in such a daze. So I finally get to my seat, and I call my mother, and as quietly as I possibly can, I absolutely fall apart. And it's not quiet enough because the people immediately around me are very concerned. They can hear me a little bit because how do you hide that? But I'm just sitting there bawling my head off to my mom, like telling her what happened, fighting tears, just like a whimpering baby. But like it was just so much. You can't even imagine. Now, it gets crazier, so hold on for part 2.